So basic checks and maintenance you'd be doing on a standard narrowboat on the canals. Water tank, usually built into the boat, can be steel, can be stainless steel, can be plastic. Usually mounted in the foredeck underneath the well deck. What you're looking for here, when you step onto the craft, is there is a filler point mounted under the gunnel on this side. Unscrew the cap, safely move that away from there so it can't fall in. You then walk back to the bank, go to the hose point, pull enough hose pipe off to do the job you want, and it's good practice just to turn the hose on, let it run for a couple of seconds just so the water through the hose is fresh, hasn't been warmed up by the sun like anything else. That reduces the chance of any cross-contamination. That's now running clear fresh water. Just a quick test, nice and cold. Walk onto the boat, hose into the tank, and it's filling. When the tank's full, they all usually have an overflow. You'll hear the water coming on the outside of the boat, at which point you then turn the tap off, coil the hose pipe up and put the cap back on to the water filler. Front of the boat here, we've got the gas locker on this one. Lift the hatch up. In there are two 13 kilo gas bottles, propane. Stop valve on the top. To use them, just make sure it's turned all the way on. Nice and safe. And when you leave the craft for any extended period of time, once again, good practice, always turn that valve off. Some systems have two bottles fitted so they switch over automatically. This is just a single manual changeover. So now we get that lovely part of boats, toilets. Three systems commonly fitted these days on most inland waterways crafts: pump out, cassette and composting. This boat's got a pump out toilet, easily identified by the fitting on the gunnel just here that says pump out. And the way you'd use that is you'd unscrew the cap, you'd walk back here to this machine where you've already purchased a token from the marina or boatyard, and like a large vacuum hose, you put that onto the tank, open the valve, that sucks the effluents out of your tank into the storage facility. You then rinse it with a hose, pump it out again, and then you can put a treatment chemical in there like L-SAN to help break down the microbial action. Cassette toilets, you take the cassette out, take it down to an emptying point. There's one at Perfect Marina. Once again, rinse it out, and then you put like a proprietary toilet chemical in there. Composting toilets are what they say, they will break down by enzymic reaction. I know very little about composting toilets, so I'm not even going to profess I know what I'm talking about. So now looking in the engine bay of a fairly typical narrowboat setup. This has got a Beta Marine engine in it. Alternator mounted on top. So the things you want to check on a daily basis really is, first of all, is the oil level on the dipstick. Similar to a car, dip in, it's got a high and a low mark on it, just check the oil's on it, you know it's good to go. Header tank for the coolant, I'm not taking that off because obviously we've been running the engine, therefore it'd be under pressure, but you should check that probably once a month. Alternator drive belt at the front, just make sure there's tension on it, it's not slack and it's squealing, and quickly just look around the engine and make sure everything else seems to be in the right place. Turning around the engine room behind you, we've got the weed hatch down here, sealed box with a bar across it. This will give us access to the propeller in case it fouls up with detritus from the canal. Undo the handle at the top, pull the clamp off, lift the top out. Always good practice to have a long pair of stockman's gloves. Go down there, clear the mess off the propeller. If you're using a knife or something like that, once again, good practice, have it on a lanyard around your wrist, so if you do drop it because this water's cold, you don't lose the knife or the tool you're using. Over the years I've found a good old-fashioned bread knife works well for cutting most things off a propeller. but be careful with it down the hatch. You can't see always what you're doing, so you're working by feel most of the time. But if you have got it on the lanyard, you can't lose it. When you replace the hatch, good practice, start the engine up, put it in forward and then reverse gear. Make sure there's no water coming in round because you've disturbed the seals. Okay, so there's two types of stern tube grease that are normally fitted on inland waterways narrowboats. That's the standard stuffing tube with the greasing point and the water lubricator system. This boat's got the standard stern tube greaser on it. This pot usually filled up with something like Morris's stern tube grease. At the end of the day, give it a turn down just till you feel a little bit of pressure, and that will usually stop the gland down there from dripping. The water lubricated ones need no normal maintenance in operation. If you don't do the stern tube, it can drip. That will then form water at the bottom of the boat, and your bilge pump will then take it out. But prevention is better than cure.